Welcome everyone to Simply Bitcoin. We break down the news from Twitter, the daily fail, meme review, software releases, hardware releases, the websites by plebes or plebs. Drop us a like, subscribe. All right, we're going to the numbers. Let's do it. At the time of this recording, the block height is 696,747. The Bitcoin price, 49,150. Chain rewrite days, 971. Total public Lightning capacity, 2,303.95. Sats per dollar, 2,035. And the blocks to halvening, 143,252.
It just changed.
But look at that, huh? 49K, A-okay.
A-okay, and it's interesting because we kind of pumped, and the Lightning Network capacity went down, right? Because yesterday it was at 2,305, now it's at 203. That's interesting. That is really interesting.
I also heard that the Bitcoin dominance, which I don't really pay attention to, but it was just like one of those in passing things in the Taco Carnivore Bitcoin plebe group, that the Bitcoin dominance crept up today. So
that's always good news.
Yeah, it's just funny, right? Because alts are now chasing Bitcoin, and if you go take a look at some of the alt charts today, this is what happens when Bitcoin climbs. It's called SAT compression.
I like that term, dude. I never heard of it.
Yeah, I know. I made it up because, I'm sure it has a real term for what's really happening. But essentially, you know how it goes, right? You're, against BTC, the SAT valuation of whatever shitcoin you have drops against it when Bitcoin climbs.
Oh, you know what also went up today? Gold. It went up by
I heard.
0.12%. But unfortunately, it's still down 7% this year.
You know what? It's okay. It's still got that utility. It still has the utility use case. That's really important.
It's a heavy, shiny metal.
That whole $30 of actual utility value. At least you have that,
dude. But at what point, like?
No, I just made that up.
No, it makes sense. Like, what point? And I'm totally being serious here, guys. Okay, and this is a Saturday episode, right? At what point does Peter Schiff get sent to a lunatic asylum? He's been screaming at the sky for 10 years about Bitcoin being bad, not buying it, gold being better, and gold literally hasn't climbed in 10 years, bro. This guy's fucking insane. Like, no offense to Peter Schiff, bro.
No, you're insane, but no offense.
No, I mean, like, I'm not trying to, like, insult you. I'm just trying to, like, point out some facts, dude. Like, and he's still screaming, saying, Bitcoin. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? It's like all those economists, like Nouriel Roubini, and, like, all those people. It's like, Bitcoin has no value, and the price keeps going up, and they're like, it still has no value. It's like, man, like, these people are batshit. I think, yeah.
All it does is show them that that fiat has no value, right? I mean, like that's really that's what Bitcoin does. It's what people don't understand.
Dude, their time is limited, bro, because they're going to do this for another 5 years and NGU is going to keep doing its thing. It's like, dude, like, they're just going to sink their reputation. They're going to have to bend the knee eventually, bro. Eventually. I think Peter Schiff's going to be the last. But anyways, Phil, it's time for it.
The Daily Fail.
Hands Liquid Global Exchange is the latest hacking victim. So they tweeted this morning that warm wallets were compromised and deposits and withdrawals had been suspended. The total amount is still to be determined, but the value of crypto stolen could be up to $90 million. All
right. I mean, we're going to have the link if you guys want to watch this whole video, We're gonna scroll down here to something very important, because this is what this fail's really all about, okay? And I learned this lesson back in 2017 myself. We're currently investigating and will provide regular updates. The exchange said in the tweet, in the meantime, deposits and withdrawals will be suspended. That's right, guys. It's one of those not your keys, not your coin moments, okay? So that another exchange, right? This is okay. It's not a rug pull, but we already gave a rug pull earlier this week. I'll probably have another one when we record next. But look, in a way, it's an exchange rug pull. They're pretty much the same. $90 million, and on top of that, if you have anything there, it's completely frozen and you have to wait.
Yep.
Okay? So it's not worth it. It really isn't worth it, you know? It's so brutal. I just, you know, it's like, what else? It's, you know, what else is there to say? It's like one after another, right? You know, we show you a list of rug pulls. We show you audited projects that got rug pulled, unaudited projects that get rug pulled, exchanges that get rug pulled. I mean, really? All this because you're looking for some pump? Anyways.
No, and you're absolutely right, dude. And it's like, how many times, right? How many times, like, does it need to be shown to you, right? That it's like, all you have to do is buy BTC, withdraw it immediately, put it into cold storage, forget about it, and you don't have to deal with any of this. Period. Like, period. Stop, you know? Full stop, right? And, you know, and it's just funny because it reminds me of the cold opening we did yesterday with Vitalik, you know, and he's like essentially making the case for, you know, how the Ethereum smart contracts are better and like this and this and that. But it's like, again, you know, with the same thing with exchanges, if you show the receipts, which we constantly do on this show, it's telling you a whole different story than what these people are trying to pitch you. You know, they're trying to spin it and they're trying to sell you hopium and they're trying to sell you the next Bitcoin, which there isn't. And, you know, and people get wrecked for it, dude. But hopefully, you know, and I feel like we play a tiny part in this, Phil. Hopefully some of those people learn their lesson, or like we like to say on the show, pay their price of tuition and find the truth, right? And of course, the truth is Bitcoin.
You know what? Before we move on to the next segment, I want to show a second fail. Okay,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it, because this was just like, there was so much fail. To be honest, I've got like 6 of them lined up, and I just feel like, you know what? Like we can get away with 2 of them on this one.
It's
okay,
the Saturday episode, bro. Let's fucking
it's the Saturday episode here. We're gonna give a shout out to Corey. Remember when you didn't know whether or not Garry Tan was smart? Now I have to be honest. I had no clue who this guy was before I saw this tweet. And once I dug in, I understood why I had no idea who this guy was. So a couple of days ago, we showed you the fail with Emily Chang interviewing Vitalik. I think that was even yesterday.
That was yesterday,
right?
Yeah.
That was yesterday, right? Interviewing Vitalik and him giving this nonsensical, you know, reason why somehow Bitcoin is somehow more unsafe. All right, so we've got another specimen over here. I personally, I don't get who is it that tells them to interview these ridiculous people with these awful takes that are just giving people horrible advice? Anyways, here we go. Let's just we're going to read and then we're actually going to pull up the clip for a bit, okay? Shots fired from Garry Tan on Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Being a Bitcoin maximalist is like being a commodity trader who refuses to believe that there are new companies, markets out there. It's like saying VCs shouldn't exist. No, it's not. You don't understand Bitcoin. You're disingenuous. Does not get it. The fact that he's comparing Bitcoin to all the rest of this garbage just goes to show that he doesn't understand Bitcoin. And he's just a shiller of wares. I mean, look, you know, it's just a shiller of shitcoin projects. He thinks they're just as legitimate. Really, some company is going to be money, some Nike Inc. money, some Reebok money.
Before you play the clip, Phil, could you scroll down a little bit, because I think Adam Back replied to this. Okay,
so yeah, thank you, Nico. Here's the tweet from Adam Back. Notice there's no Bitcoin spokesperson debunking alt promoters' BTC false comparisons, because there is no Bitcoin spokesperson, because it's actually decentralized digital commodity rather than a dino in a crowded collection of smart contract chains. Yes. They just don't get it. And these guys are just such absolute scum. And he blocked all of us anyways. Like every single person who commented on that thread. Yeah, let's just start this and watch this ridiculousness. Okay, here we go.
What's your take on the recent comments from Jay Clayton, former head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, current head of the SEC, taken in tandem with this new infrastructure bill that sets up crypto to be regulated much more broadly?
You know, I think the most surprising thing about the infrastructure bill to me was how quickly this Warner Amendment actually almost killed modern innovation in crypto in the United States.
No. It killed shitcoins.
The Wyden prior proposal was actually very fair to validators and specifically programmers, which is incredibly important. And one of the big schisms that sort of come to my mind watching the Warner Amendment actually almost pass was actually, there is a lobby, a very powerful lobby out there that is Bitcoin maximalist. And that's
big
fascinating
lobby,
to me. I mean, it's
a
been
huge
7 years.
lobby.
Ethereum has been out, and DeFi is up 13x year on year. NFTs are huge and a huge growing market.
Your very own
$1 billion in
JPEGs
CryptoPunk
on the
sales
blockchain.
alone. And it's just amazing.
This guy's
to
just
see,
garbage, just
Bitcoin
absolute
maximalism
garbage.
Man, oh, Phil,
Absolute trash. Yeah, so I mean, come on. I mean, really? Really? DeFi's up 13 times year over year. We're gonna post the link to the frickin' wrecked leaderboard in the show notes so everybody can go back and take a look at all the wrecked projects that DeFi had to bring, among other. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, no, and what Adam Back had to say was just so spot on. Like, there is no Bitcoin spokesman, period, right? Like, you have Vitalik, it's like, oh, the CEO of Ethereum is here, let's talk with him. Try to do that with Bitcoin. Let's do Cardano. Oh, Charles Hutchinson. Oh my God, the man, the Lord. It's like they don't understand that the problem with money in the first place is that humans controlled the monetary policy, and that with all these shit coins, right? You had Ethereum, for example. Vitalik wanted to change how miners get paid to whatever. He said that. That's the problem. Is the fact that a human had that much influence over the network. What you're replacing is the old fiat system with this new shitcoin system, and there's no progress, right? Bitcoin takes the monetary policy out of the hands of humans. Therefore, it's uncorruptible. I could tell you the monetary policy and how it works for the next 147 years, right? Until the block subsidy runs out, right? So it's like that is the innovation, right? It's separating the monetary policy out of the hands of humans, and by doing so, separating money from state, and of course, freedom for everybody. And if we stay with these shit coins and NFTs and DeFi, that's not really DeFi, because the coders of the smart contracts, like we said in that rec.com, they are God. They have total, essentially they have total control over those smart contracts, and they get to decide what they want to do with them. And that's exactly why there's so many rug pulls. And the same thing applies to exchanges. If it's not your keys, it's not your Bitcoin, period, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're just going to keep hammering this in, until people, hopefully we could save some people. And I know we've gotten some comments, right? Some very positive comments.
Have.
Right? That people, have said, listen, like, fuck these shit coins, I'm going to go into Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin is the truth. You will never get rug pulled in Bitcoin. It will never scam you. And it is literally designed to go up. There is no reason why not to hold it. And to steal Odell's quote, stay humble, stack sats. Thank you, Phil, for pulling that up.
Never forget, okay? This is what he's talking about. It's up 13 times. Oh, look how great it is. Yeah? Yeah, I'm sure every single person that was part of these rug pulls is not feeling that 13x love. It's freaking geniuses, these people.
Dude,
Anyways.
That's almost $1 billion on that list, dude.
I know. It's insane.
But it's a success, and he's wondering. He's like,
it's
what?
A success.
It's like, why are regulators coming after us in the first place? If your cryptocurrency, and I hate that term, could be attacked by a regulator, it's not a fucking cryptocurrency, right? Bitcoin cannot be attacked, and we're going to show you why in the Phil segment very quickly. But anyways, Phil, it's time for
the Daily Meme Review, sponsored by
Citadel 21.
All right, everybody, this meme for today is brought to us by a fellow plebe. You go follow him at Full Metal Hodl. Let's check it out. Barter, seashells, fiat, gold, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Dude, and again, Phil, this time, I totally didn't pick this one. This was total coincidence that it kind of related to your stuff. But before we give the meme a review, check out this meme below by an Anon, with fees like that, this is more accurate for ETH. Man, awesome memes.
Amazing.
So good. And because they're so awesome, Phil, I'm going to give it a very special score. I'm going to give it my don't tread on me sweater, but no, fuck that. I'm going to give it the honey badger can't tread on me, motherfucker. Anyways, Phil, what about you?
You know what? Very inspirational tweet. Very inspirational meme. And the second one was even funnier. Well, it was just a good addition, right? And for that, I'm giving it my super cool LED mouse.
Ooh, I have one of those too. They are really cool.
I love LEDs on everything.
Does it have the little button where you can spin the wheel? It's so nice.
I think so. I don't know. It's got a bunch of...
Yeah, you could spin the wheel. Yeah.
Kind of looks... Yeah, anyways, it's an interesting one.
That's a good one. Okay, anyways.
It does what it needs to do.
It does what it needs to do. It's an effective mouse. So a honey badger and an effective mouse for that awesome tweet by Full Metal Hodl. Anyways, guys, we want to know, do you agree with our scores? Do you disagree? Let us know down in the comment section. And like always, join our Telegram group because we need memes to review. Because it's a meme review, and that's what we do. We review memes. But anyways, Phil, it's time for...
The Daily News, sponsored by...
Crypto Cloaks.
Boom. Pay. Scan. Instant free $10 remittance payment from the United States to Nigeria.
Boom.
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 Boom. Jack is absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, what you just witnessed there, okay? You know, it might have been not a horizontal video, right? They forgot to make it horizontal, right? But nevertheless, what you just witnessed there was monetary history, to quote Jack himself. You know the drill. Nico can't read, so Phil, because this is such a historical moment, why don't you do the honors of reading Jack's tweets?
All right, here we go. With @BitandBob officials Lightning Network integration, we now have free, instant, non-reversible remittances of any size to and from the United States, Nigeria, and Ghana. $10 in my US bank account became spendable NGN for @BernardPara in seconds. Monetary history. I didn't have to register the transfer through a financial intermediary such as Western Union, request private banking details of @BernardPara, or wait days for the payment to settle. With LN Strike, my US dollars are interoperable with the world's first open monetary network. BernardPara didn't have to bust to a Western Union to pick up the money. He didn't owe any intermediary a percentage of the transaction. The payment wasn't reversible and settled instantly. He simply withdrew to his bank account and had spendable Naira in seconds. Strike and BitandBob official don't have a commercial relationship. We don't need one. This was the first time I met BernardPara. We don't need any intermediaries anymore. We can simply use math and cryptography now. Get lost, Western Union. It was fun while it lasted. Today, Strike became the best remittance option from the US to Nigeria without even trying. How? Did we spend a year setting up the Strike network in Nigeria? No, there is no Strike network. Someone else simply joined the Bitcoin network. Open networks win. You can't compete. The world is moving to a singular open global payment standard built on a distributed network, a world where all services are interoperable no matter their geographic location, currency, or jurisdiction. No balance sheet, float, fixed cost, T settlements, forex, risk, etc. A world in which the individual has the right of choice. A monetary network where payments are non-reversible peer-to-peer and physically settle in seconds. A more free, private, and peaceful society that reinstills basic human freedoms and financial inclusion.
Yep. Just
Bullish.
like that, Jack dropped a nuclear bomb, essentially destroying Western Union's business model, right, for the better, because they essentially, you're paying a tax to them just to send money to people, right? And Jack Ballers, just man, phenomenal. He came up with a product that just completely disintermediated all those people. And of course, this product didn't have to be built on a shitcoin, right? It's all built on the most secure network on the world, and that is Bitcoin. This is game changing. Phil, I want to get your opinion on this. And then after, remember guys, there's this old saying, if you want peace, you must prepare for war. This isn't just going to be easy. They're not just going to hand us over the keys, right? The other side is mobilizing. Again, open networks, to quote Jack, open networks always be closed networks. But that doesn't mean in the process it's not going to be a bumpy road. We've been covering that a lot on the show. We'll cover it again in a second. Phil?
That was beautiful to see. That was a cool video to watch. I hadn't seen that one yet. And you know what? He is absolutely right. I am just so bullish on what's happening right now. And that, look, you know what? He just made Western Union obsolete. MoneyGram obsolete. All of this stuff obsolete. This is fantastic. You know, like from somebody who moved, you know, from Canada to the US, which isn't a big deal. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's not a big deal. But in terms of banking, it's really difficult. Okay, it's super annoying. And yes, once you have it all set up, it works, right? But you still have to go through so much. And what Jack just proved is no, you don't have to go through so much. Look how much better inclusion wins, right? Absolutely. I love it, man. I love it. And, you know, his point about the closed systems kind of makes me think of shitcoins. That's kind of what it makes me think of.
And
you know, the closed systems lose.
And shitcoins include the dollar, right? Which is the shittiest of the shitcoins, right? And of course,
prehistoric shitcoin.
And of course, you know, before there was these shitcoin developers, right? There was these status dollar people, one of them being Steve Hanke, and he released a very spicy article today, and I could tell you guys, they are shitting their fucking pants, okay?
He's working overtime.
He's working overtime. He released this article, and it says, El Salvador's road to currency chaos and economic collapse, right? Let's move on. In the middle of the night of June 8th, El Salvador passed a law that made Bitcoin legal tender. Now, I highlighted this first part because here's the thing, right? A sovereign country passed a law through their own through their own legislation, right? Completely legally, and they said that Bitcoin is now legal tender. And you have Steve Hanke living in a Western country, specifically the United States, that benefits from being the world reserve currency. And he's basically saying, what you guys are doing in that country is bad. Steve Hanke, you're not from fucking El Salvador, bro. You're not even part of the legislation. This passed legally. It's their country. They get to make their own fucking rules, okay? Okay, moving on. I'm sorry. I get very pissed off.
Of course, he's a jerk-off.
President Bukele's radical crypto initiative, it's not a crypto initiative, it's a Bitcoin initiative, made headlines around the world. It also made him somewhat of a folk hero in the Bitcoin community. But in Salvador, Bukele received a little more than cynical glances. After all, since El Salvador dumped the colon and replaced it with the US dollar in 2001, its average annual inflation rate has only been 2.03%. First of all, okay, that inflation rate is wrong. And if they just adopted Bitcoin, there would be no inflation rate, period. And you know what that inflation rate benefits from? Because that's essentially a 2% tax, right? If you would believe the article. It benefits the US. It does not benefit El Salvador. Anyways, here we go. Here it is again. So will the Financial Action Task Force, this unelected body that we've covered many times on the show, the international money laundering and terrorist financing policeman, from a FATFA regulatory perspective, El Salvador has been clean as a hound's tooth. Of course it has. Why? Because it's using the neo-colonial fucking US dollar. That will change if the Bitcoin law is implemented on September 7th. Oh my God, right?
Oh no!
The world is going to end.
Not this random grouping of people getting upset that El Salvador desires freedom. Oh no.
If you're wondering what this is the threat, right? You know, you guys can't make your own laws. You have to follow the US.
Yeah,
If
you need
are
to be in the jail. You need to be in the jail.
You need to be slaves. This is what this is telling me. If you're wondering whether the FATFA and other regulatory bodies will cast their eyes onto the shady side of El Salvador come September 7th, the answer is an unambiguous yes. Oh, that's a threat. Just look at what just look at what the U.S. State Department has done recently. On July 1st, yes, they released this coincidentally right after El Salvador passed the Bitcoin law, and with the Reuters article, right, with the picture of President Bukele, right, and it had nothing to. Bukele wasn't even mentioned in the corrupt list, but they had.
We reported it.
It's of course we report it. We report everything on Simply Bitcoin. But yeah, man, and. Anyways,
such disingenuous scumbags,
right? But
this is Steve Hanke.
This is so we showed you. We started with hope with Jack Mallers, and now we're showing the dark side, and we're showing you the battle to come. Right? Moving on. Right? Before I get into this, guys, listen. We don't support the Taliban. Okay? We don't support anything or terrorism or any of that shit. But what we do support, right? Just like the American Constitution, the First Amendment, right? It's freedom of speech, right? Yep. Meaning that there is no person that gets to decide what speech is okay and what speech is not okay. Why is it like that? Why does it say freedom of speech, right? Because the person that gets to decide, right, what speech is okay and what speech is not okay, historically speaking, genuinely becomes a tyrant, right? Because they get to decide what is misinformation, what is not misinformation. I'm sure you're seeing that a lot lately, as of lately, right? So anyways, service update as of August 18, 2020. I just might add, right? If it was operating on the Bitcoin network, move the terrorists aside, move the Taliban aside. This is going to affect the people of Afghanistan, right? That are receiving payments from, relatives overseas that are helping them support, right? Due to ongoing situation in Afghanistan, associated capacity constraints on our agents' ability to operate from August 18, 2021 until further notice, we have temporarily suspended our services in the country, right? So again, Bitcoin fixes this.
Yep.
Moving on, it's not only Western Union, right? This is an article by the Wall Street Journal. U.S. halted dollar shipments to Afghanistan to keep... Now, I want you guys to remember this part. To keep cash out of the Taliban's hands. I want you to remember that part, okay? The Biden administration last week canceled bulk shipments of dollars headed for Afghanistan as Taliban fighters were poised to take control of the capital city of Kabul. Part of a continuing scramble, again, totally disingenuous, part of a continuing scramble to keep hundreds of millions of dollars out of the hands of terrorists. So, Phil, do you think it's safe to say that buying the US dollars supports terrorism? It's not Bitcoin that supports terrorism. It's the dollar that supports terrorism. Anyways, the US is also blocking Taliban access to government accounts managed by the Federal Reserve. Now, there's a lot of noise in there. That's the signal. The U.S. is also blocking access to government's accounts managed by the Federal Reserve, meaning the Federal Reserve was always managing the monetary network of Afghanistan. It wasn't Afghanistan. It was the Federal Reserve, right? But again, it's not only, remittances to Afghanistan. And again, guys, I want to specify, this is not about the Taliban. This is about people in Afghanistan, right? And them being able to receive money from people abroad, right? And again, it's not only Afghanistan. OnlyFans to ban material after pressure from payment processors, right? So again, this is what I said before. There's some people on top that decide what payment is okay, what payment is not okay, right? OnlyFans, the subscriber-only website synonymous with pornography, has announced it will ban adult material from the site. Again, after pressure from its payment processors. What payment processors are those? MasterCard and Visa. Anyways, moving on. Look, more pressure. This was an announce from our favorite shitcoin exchange. When I say favorite, I'm totally fucking joking. You should know that by now. Anyways, effective immediately. All new users are required to complete intermediate verification to access Binance products and service offerings, including Bitcoin and shitcoin deposits, trade, and withdrawals. Binance is announcing these measures to help support its efforts in know your customer and anti-laundering whatever. Okay, so before I get to the next part, Phil, right? They want you to believe that this KYC, that this AML, that this FATFA is necessary. We covered it on an episode a couple days ago, which you could click on right here, right? Essentially why that's BS. But let me give you a quick refresher, right? Let's move on to this article that we covered on a previous episode, right? And it's very simple, right? And this is a report, right, by some professor in a university, and it has tons of sources, and it's very simple. In Europe, the anti-money laundering movement apparently makes private businesses spend as much as $144 billion in compliance costs to help authorities confiscate up to 1.2 billion of more than 110 billion generated by criminals every year. This suggests that the high recovery rate is at 1%. So they make companies, they make us, they make the individuals, right, spend all this money only for them just to recover a small portion, right? And the report goes on to say, however, these findings appear consistent with other possibilities. For example, that banks are a much easier target for regulators than criminals. If authorities recover around $3 billion per annum from criminals while imposing compliance costs of $300 billion and penalizing business owners another $8 billion a year, it is reasonable to ask if the real target of anti-money laws is legitimate enterprises rather than criminal enterprises. And I'm not even done, Phil. I'm going to back this up. You ready? Taliban has inherited $80 billion of U.S. military equipment, or 10% of America's annual defense budget. But wait, there's more.
Oh, no. Are you going to say that they got cash?
Check out this video from Short the Banks. Wait, but Bitcoin funds terrorism. Meanwhile, this is something other than the weapons that were left in Afghanistan. Civilians there are not able to access their life savings, which we just talked about. This is what they think of your tax dollars. This is how worthless they see the money. Hey, just leave it. We could print more and tax them.
Okay. And this is the system that they're standing up for.
I paid 40% taxes, and that is where it's in the hands of terrorists. Even with all your KYC AML garbage.
FATFA, where are you?
Where are you, FATFA? Where are you, FATFA?
Where are they? Come on.
One idea is that the money could have been left there on purpose to track where the Taliban spends money. Yeah, my ballsack. Anyways,
we're not smart enough for that.
I apologize for using that word. I'm very riled up, right? Clearly, okay, this FATFA, this AML, this KYC, you saw how Hanky used it as a threat, right? This isn't about fighting crime. If this was about fighting crime, we wouldn't have left $80 billion worth of our tax money, if you're American, in fucking Afghanistan, okay? That wouldn't have happened. Right? So this isn't about fighting crime. This is about population control, right? And what you saw there with Jack sending money freely, right, across the ocean, right, to someone in Nigeria, that is freedom that's going to include, right, 60% of the world that does not have a bank account. Why? Because they're unbankable, right? Because of the FATFA, right? So the question is, right, Phil, dude, none of this, is this shit necessary? My opinion, it's not. This has been a way to control your freaking population and nothing more. KYC and AML is immoral. And I know what you're saying. I know what a lot of you are going to say. But how are they going to fight crime? The traditional way of fighting crime, right? You could fight crime, right, without fucking having these totalitarian rules on top of everyone that are being excessively more and more used as methods of control rather than actually fighting crime effectively. You saw the number there in the report, right? Only 1% were they able to confiscate in Europe, right, of illegal criminal activity, but the legit business owners and the legit banks are the ones that end up paying a heavier bill, right? It's a goddamn scam. Phil?
They don't need to be investigating everybody, okay, to catch the paltry number of criminals that they catch. It's got nothing to do with that. And the other thing is, going back to the article that you mentioned, right? Is it really about stopping crime, or is it about catching just your companies that maybe, possibly make a misstep or something like that, or didn't check the right box somewhere, or who knows what, right? Like these businesses, this is all, you know what? If we take a step back, I think it's even beyond population control. Imagine getting to buy up the world for pennies. Imagine being able to buy up the entire world for free. That's what these people are doing, because people are trading their time and their effort for this absolute garbage money, right? And with every single one of these boom and bust cycles that goes, what happens, right? The banks end up taking over more land, more things, right? More housing, and people end up renting, right? We've shown the story about BlackRock buying up all the housing there for, so now that people, instead of owning a home, you can rent from them. So you see, like, all of a sudden now all these businesses, they're the ones that are going to be owning all of this. Trust me, this is like the most, it's such a heinous scam. So I think it's not just population control, it's also a way to just steal the world out from under us.
Absolutely.
For real. And to make it seem legitimate.
It's
right? Because look, everyone agreed.
It's 2030. You'll be happy and know nothing, remember?
There you go.
They don't even hide it anymore. They just advertise it, right? Well, man, wow.
Welcome to slavery.
Welcome to slavery. But it's okay, guys. The orange pill fixes this. All you got to do is opt the fuck out. Opt the fuck out of their totalitarian control system. Buy yourself some freedom money. Get the fuck out of that shit, dude. It's terrible. It's evil. And not only that, we showed you hope in the beginning, right? That was hopeful. You probably felt good about that, right? How do you feel about all that other reporting? Probably felt dark, right? Probably felt like a very scary future for heading towards that direction, right? Imagine Steve Hanke, being in charge of the monetary policy of the world. Sounds fucking terrible. But anyways, Phil, there was a software release today. Why don't you show everybody?
Happy software releases. All right, we've got Umbrel version 0.4.1. Nico wants me to sing some horrible rendition of Rihanna, but I am going to spare all of you with that. Umbrel is a kick-ass node. It's got all kinds of amazing services on it. Easy to install, easy to set up. Check it out down below in the show notes.
It's not an umbrella. It's umbrella. I mean, it's not an umbrella. It's umbrella. It's a Bitcoin node. I'll say it if you're not gonna say it, Phil. But anyways, guys.
I spared everyone.
But you heard it from me. But anyways, guys, if you enjoyed this show. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. And of course, if you want to continue hearing the catastrophic fails from the slave masters, the fiat economists, the shitcoiners, and everyone else, and the Bitcoin news from the pleb perspective, definitely consider subscribing, and we'll see you Monday, guys, for another episode of Simply Bitcoin.
It's getting weirder, and the parade of scammers is coming out in full force.